Welcome to the SABC News COVID-19 Global Wrap, where myself, Babalole Phaka, and my colleague Busisiwe Khatebe bring you highlights of stories which dominated news headlines with regards to the coronavirus. But before we get into it, let us have a look at some global statistics. There are over 5.8 million confirmed COVID-19 cases worldwide, over 2.4 million recoveries, and over 360,000 deaths. South Africa currently sits at over 27,000 confirmed cases, over 14,000 recoveries, and over 570 deaths.
On Thursday, the National Coronavirus Command Council briefed the media on the regulations relating to the COVID-19 Level 3 restrictions following the announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa on Sunday. Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma has assured South Africans that the implementation of Level 3 from the 1st of June has been determined through scientific advice from experts. This is intended to reopen economic activity in order to have a viable economy. President Cyril Ramaphosa said that the decision for places of worship to reopen comes after engagements with the religious sector. However, services will be limited in size to 50 people or less, depending on the space available. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga says that protective personal equipment will be delivered on time and added that the bigger issues have been dealt with regarding the reopening of schools on Monday.
The cleaning really, because what is outstanding now, it's getting more tape measures and cleaning. And cleaning can get people to come and do it. The most difficult part has been done, which is the curriculum management. To say if they had 5 maths classes, matric classes, now they're having 11. How do they deploy their teachers? Which teachers has what skills? And for me, that was the most difficult part of it all. But the others are just...
On to the rest of the continent. Confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa are over 130,000, with over 55,000 recoveries and over 3,800 deaths. On Thursday, the number of COVID-19 cases in Zimbabwe more than doubled to 132 over 24 hours. Most were Zimbabweans who had returned from abroad, Nick Mangwana, a government spokesperson, wrote on Twitter. Zimbabwe is under a COVID-19 lockdown, and citizens fear that a surge in cases could overwhelm a health service that was already struggling with shortages of medicines before the pandemic. And finally, while delivering the Africa Day speech as African Union chairperson, President Cyril Ramaphosa said that the COVID-19 pandemic has shown Africa's ability in working together to solve its own problems. Ramaphosa says that Africa is firmly managing the global public health crisis.
And now for international news. In less than 4 months of the COVID-19 outbreak in the country, the United States of America has now reached over 103,000 deaths. The USA currently sits at over 1.7 million confirmed cases and over 370,000 recoveries. President Donald Trump described the 100,000 fatalities mark as a sad milestone and has since sent his condolences to the families of those who have lost their loved ones. According to Reuters, about 1,400 Americans have died on average each day in May, down from the peak of the outbreak in April when 2,000 people a day died on average. In South America, Brazil now has the second highest number of cases in the world with over 400,000 confirmed cases. In a spike in deaths, the country on Monday surpassed the United States' daily COVID-19 fatalities for the first time in 24 hours, registering 804 deaths. Some experts predict that cases in Brazil could increase fivefold by August. In Asia, South Korea is set to close all public facilities in Seoul on Friday after a cluster of over 70 new infections gripped the area in the last 24 hours. This has triggered tougher social distancing measures meant to curb fears of a second wave of the virus. And in Europe, the executive of the European Union on Wednesday unveiled a €750 billion plan to boost economies that have been harshly affected by COVID-19 and lockdown restrictions. A large portion of the funds will be divided between Italy and Spain, as the two nations have been the worst affected in the bloc by the pandemic. Meanwhile, in France, Prime Minister Edouard Philippe announced the reopening of parks, beaches, and lakes on the 2nd of June. The wearing of masks and social distancing rules will also be strictly enforced.
For the latest updates on the coronavirus, visit sabcnews.com.